Alphonse Indelicato was born in Lower Manhattan in 1931. At the time, Manhattan was home to over 1 million Italian Americans. Like most young men in that era, he took to the streets in order to make money. His rap sheet dates back to September 1943, where at the young age of 12, he was arrested for a knife assault. His next arrest was for conspiracy in October 1948, at which time he also received 2 fines, and during that same year, he was arrested for narcotics. One of the guys Indelicato became associated to was Carmine DiBiase, who was nicknamed Sonny Pinto. Indelicato would also acquire a nickname of himself called Sonny Red, which allegedly was due to a pair of custom-made red cowboy boots that he favored, which was typical, being red cowboy boots would stick out back then, causing someone to give him a nickname. In 1950, he had a conviction for heroin where he only had to serve 6 months. On December 26, 1951, DiBiase sent a young Colombo associate, Joseph Luparelli, nicknamed Joe Pesci, to fetch Sonny Red out of his 13 Elizabeth Street house. Sonny Red was holding guns for DiBiase and was instructed by Luparelli to meet DiBiase at his club, the Mayfair Boys Civic Social Club, located at 167 Mulberry Street. DiBiase was partners in the place with his dear friend, Michael Ericiello, nicknamed Mikey Evans. But they had a recent falling out, and DiBiase blamed him for cheating at card games, as well as skimming money from the club's Joker poker machines. Sonny Red, who was 20 years old at the time, showed up with the guns and gave one to DiBiase. At some point, DiBiase walked over to Ericiello, who was sleeping at the time, and shot him 3 times, killing him. Sonny Red fired at Rocco Tizzi, who owned a bar in the area, but his gun misfired, so he began hitting Tizzi with it, breaking his ankle in the process. But Tizzi managed to run out of the club. He would eventually tell law enforcement that DiBiase and Sonny Red were involved in the murder. Sonny Red would ultimately be sentenced for the charges of murder, attempted murder, as well as a weapon charge, and received a 12 to 25-year sentence. He would be released on parole in 1966. DiBiase, on the other hand, immediately went on the lam. There's an alleged incident involving a homicide that was caused by an ice pick, attributed to Sonny Red. However, I was unable to find any official documents confirming that story. An historical murder took place on April 7, 1972, when Joey Gallo, family and friends, were dining at Umberto's Clam House in Little Italy for his birthday. A Colombo hit team, led by DiBiase, shot Gallo to death at the restaurant. Some reports suggest Sonny Red was involved. Again, I don't believe this to be accurate. Following the hit on Gallo, the hit team headed to an apartment in Nyack, New York, to lay low. Apparently, that apartment was rented by Sonny Red. And in December 1972, he was subpoenaed to an inquiry into the murder of Joey Gallo. His lawyer failed to have the subpoena squashed, and he was subsequently charged with perjury for claiming he'd never been to the Nyack apartment or ever speaking with Joseph Iacovelli, who was the Colombo family's acting boss at that time. Ironically, Dominic Trinchera was also hit with a criminal contempt charge for refusing to answer questions pertaining to Iacovelli, Persico, Langella, and DiBiase. Obviously, law enforcement was focusing on the Colombos for the Gallo murder. Sonny Red's first marriage was to the daughter of Lucchese member Charlie Rivolo. And during an interview with the FBI, he gave his place of employment as a boutique called Joal, located on 218 Grand Street in Manhattan, a business that he owned, and declared a yearly income of $5,000. Sonny Red was inducted into the Bonanno family in early 1976 when the books reopened after 19 years. His brother Joseph was also inducted into the family, as well as Sonny Red's son, Anthony, known as Bruno. Sonny Red is also the nephew of Salvatore Falcone, a boss out of Utica, New York, and one considered a major heroin trafficker. Some records suggest that when the Indelicato family came from Sicily, they first settled in Utica, New York, before moving to Manhattan. In August of 1976, the official Bonanno boss, Rusty Rastelli, began serving a 10-year sentence for several charges. His main captains on the street were Sonny Black Napolitano and Joe Messino. But the Bonannos also had a powerful, ambitious captain named Carmine Galante, who had his sights on the vacant boss position. Galante was someone who by no means brought stability to the family. Conversely, the family became split into factions. Thus started the first power struggle within the Bonanno family. Things came to a drastic head in July 1979 when the Rastelli faction convinced Galante's two main bodyguards, Baldassare Amato and Cesare Bonventre, to turn against him. Sonny Red, now a Bonanno captain, worked alongside Napolitano and Messino in the plot against Galante. Sonny Red's son Bruno was chosen to be part of the Bonanno hit team that would take Galante out. On July 12, 1979, Carmine Galante was dropped off at his cousin's restaurant on Knickerbocker Avenue in Brooklyn. At 12:45 p.m., a three-man hit team, which included Bruno, walked into the restaurant wearing ski masks. Galante was seated at a table outside the restaurant's back patio area. His cousin, a friend Leonardo Coppola, Amato and Bonventre were present as well, and everyone except Amato and Bonventre were killed by a barrage of bullets and blasts from a shotgun. Following the sensational murder, the FBI, who was surveilling Neil Delacroce's Ravenite Social Club, spotted Sonny Red, his son Bruno, and others outside the club. They had just reported the news to Delacroce and Stevie Canone, the Bonanno consigliere. Galante's murder was one that was approved and put in motion by the commission, who designated Delacroce as the point man. If you haven't liked this video yet, please do, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. And if you'd like to show your appreciation for videos like this, or more importantly, help me to continue making them, you can do that by donating with the Super Thanks icon down below or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. What took place next was the second play for power within the Bonanno family. Sonny Red, along with fellow captains Dominic Trinchera and Philly Giaccone, wanted to make a move to take control of the family from Napolitano and Messino, who represented Rastelli. Initially, the commission tried to intercede to make peace, but Messino privately appealed to Carmine Persico and Paul Castellano by telling them that he heard the opposing faction was stockpiling weapons and were planning to make a move. Supposedly, Messino was instructed to defend himself, so Messino and Napolitano set up a meeting under the guise of making peace where Sonny Red, Trinchera, Giaccone, Frankie Lino, and Bruno were all supposed to attend. However, at the last minute, it was decided that Bruno would stay behind. On May 5, 1981, the day of the meeting, the Sonny Red faction showed up to the 2020 Club in Brooklyn, where Messino and over a half dozen Bonannos were lying in wait for them. At some point, Bonanno captain George from Canada, Shasha, gave the signal by running his hand through his hair, and men hiding inside of a closet burst out blasting away at the three unsuspecting captains. The only survivor was Frankie Lino, who managed to run out of the club when all the shooting began. The bodies of the three captains were loaded in a van and delivered to three members of John Gotti's crew, Gene Gotti, Angelo Ruggiero, and Johnny Caniglia, who buried them in the hole behind Linden Boulevard in Queens. On May 24, 1981, a young kid playing in the area discovered Sonny Red's remains, which was wrapped in canvas, near Ruby Street and Blake Avenue. He had 3 bullet wounds, 1 to the head and 2 to his chest. He was identified from fingerprints that were on file with law enforcement.